I want to welcome you to the 2016 Spear Study Club Leaders Summit. This is an amazing room. We have every single specialty represented from dentistry, including laboratory, in this room. Over the next 2 days, you're going to be hearing some amazing content from thought leaders from around the world. You're going to be hearing from our chairman, Imtiaz Manji, about the realities of the restorative practice. And you're going to be hearing from a panel of your peers, 8 individuals that represent every specialty, including lab, that represent approximately 250 study club members and 375,000 patients. And last but not least, you're going to have the opportunity to network with your peers, the study club leader, from all over the globe. Now, my opening remarks this morning is leadership with intention. And if you look at the definition of the word intention, it is a thing intended that actually doesn't help me much, or an aim or a plan. My plan for you over the next 2 days is for you to think about what you do, why you do, how you do it, for the betterment of your members, yourselves, and your patients. Because frankly, unless we are assisting you to be better leaders, to help your members, to help your patients, you know what? This is a big waste of time. My other intention is to share with you why your study clubs are like a blueberry bush. And to tell you all about some blueberry leaders, and to make you all blueberry leaders. So what's a leader? Now, you might say, Martin, why are you starting with definitions? I'll tell you why. That title we gave to you when you decided to start your club. So I started to do some research, and I came upon an article by Kevin Cruz from Forbes magazine. And he talked about just this: what is a leader? And the first thing he did was talk about what a leader is not. And he said a leader has nothing to do with seniority or position, titles, personal attributes, and is not management. That caught my eye, because think about it, ladies and gentlemen, you do not manage your members in their practices, do you? You can influence them, but you cannot manage them. So then what Kevin did was he took some quotes from entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I'd like to share 4 of them with you. The first was the only definition of a leader is someone with followers. Well, okay, so if you have followers, what are you going to get them to do? The second definition was leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Okay, great. But once we translate the vision, then what steps do we take? The third was that leaders are those who empower others, by Bill Gates. Great. Empower them to do what? And last but not least, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, by John Maxwell. And you'll be hearing more about one of John Maxwell's book a little bit later. So Kevin Cruz gave a definition of leadership based upon his research, which is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others toward the achievement of a goal. And I thought, all right, that's good, but how can I morph this to better serve you, the study club leader? So I changed it a little bit. A study club leader engages in a process of clinical and practice influence which maximizes the efforts of the members toward the achievement of their personal goals. I thought, that's not bad, but it's one-sided because it's all about you. Last time I checked, we have members involved here that work as an interdisciplinary team at its best. So the last definition I'll propose to you from a research perspective is, what is teamwork? By definition, it's cooperative or coordinated effort on the part of a group of persons acting together in the interest of a common cause. So when we put this all together, I propose to you, ladies and gentlemen, today, that a study club leader engages in a process of clinical and practice influence, which maximizes the coordinated efforts of the members acting together in the interest of common and personal goals. That's what a study club can be at its heart. So then the next thing I thought was, well, how does what we do here at Spear jive with that definition? So many of you in the room have heard before from myself and from Frank Spear and from others why we exist. There's 4 reasons why we exist as an organization. To help you have more fun in practice. To help you, through clinical excellence and efficiency, take more time off if you choose. To help you, through clinical excellence and efficiency, be more financially successful if you choose. But last but not least, that trumps all others, no pun intended, is to help get you to a place of clinical competence and confidence to a level of your own desire. That influences everything else. So let me tell you a story. Back in 2015, January to be exact, I had a meeting with Colleen Manji, our CEO, and Jeff Rowe, our COO. If you haven't met these 2 gentlemen, I recommend you do. They're amazing people who really have given me and everybody else in this room such amazing opportunities through the leadership of themselves, the executive team, and our board of directors. But we had a discussion. Now, for those of you who've been around with us for a little while, you know that I came to Spear in 2011. And in 2012, I was given the responsibility of everything study club, with the exception of content that Steve Radcliffe steered. So when I say everything, I mean everything. The advisors, my ultimate responsibility was how the website worked for you, how you got your modules, clinical content, everything. And we grew very dramatically. And the decision was made that we would relieve me of every single management duty to solely focus on you, the leader. That's what I do. And what an honor it has been to help serve you and to make things better. Because the reality is that we told you this was a turnkey platform. It wasn't. And we knew that we had some really key gaps. So you know what I did with intention? I got on the phone. I called upwards of 30 of you. Many of you are sitting in this room. And I asked you a number of questions. Now, with intention, I picked not just raving fans of any business. That's what we are, right? I picked a group of individuals that were of the type of the folk you're going to meet on our panel. I took a group of individuals that I knew had issues with us. And I took individuals that I knew through conversation with myself and others that had a rocky start, but now we're doing quite well. Every single one of these individuals, bar none, made the same exact statement verbatim. I will never forget this as long as I live. And those that didn't make the statement, when I described to them the statement based upon what they shared with me, they said, yeah, that's it. Do you know what it was? I didn't know what I didn't know. Sound familiar? At the time, there was no additional support for you as it related to launching your study club to help explain to your members what we have to offer through various mechanisms. There was no member success advisor to serve your members, to onboard them one-on-one to the website. Let's talk about the website. For those of you who have been around with us long enough, it took 3 minutes to load and half the time it crashed. And CE was not electronic. It was done on paper forms that you then had to fax in. We had a lot to learn. We've made a lot of improvements, and we've expanded our department almost by tenfold. So in the years since, we decided with intention, well, how are we doing? So what we did was we ran a survey. 520 leaders and members, like my phone calls, active and non-active, meaning those who didn't continue with us. And I want to share you a couple of the data points because it was fascinating. Some stuff we validated our assumptions. Other things were a surprise. The first one, by the active group, what did you most value? No surprise here, which is good. Discussion, collaboration, treatment planning, working as an interdisciplinary team, mentorship, and camaraderie. Not a surprise. Now, when we asked the active group what you least value, you know what they said? Not using all the benefits. Does that surprise you? So since 2012, we have completely, or shall I say, continued to add to Spear Online. It's now not just for you, it's for your team, both as individuals and as a group with our team meetings. We have new hire training on there. We have patient education on there, both for one-on-one conversation as well as waiting room videos. We've added the Member Success Advisor to help you one-on-one with your members. We've completely relaunched the website. Our CE is now electronic, no more paper forms. And so on, and so on, and so on. We certainly have a long way to go. Perfection is not a destination, it's a journey. Now here's the interesting thing. When we asked the group that didn't continue what they least valued, they didn't have an answer. Now what do I mean by that? We took all the data that we knew was least valued by others and we put that in a multiple choice format and we included not applicable with a place for a comment. That was the number one response by a 2-to-1 margin, not applicable. You know what they said? Can't really think of one. I valued it all. I enjoyed the club. I don't think there was anything I could identify as low value. By a huge margin. So again, we're not perfect. But the question is, what's going on here? So then when we ask them, how likely would you be to come back to Spear? You know what the percentage was? 20% of the ones surveyed. Now why is that significant? Because today, we sit with an 80% member renewal rate and north of 95% leader retention rate. And these individuals that didn't continue are telling us by 20% that they would likely come back because they couldn't necessarily peg why they left other than for their own personal reasons. Of course, there were individuals that had other singular things that they didn't value, but isn't it interesting that by a 2-to-1 margin, it was, no, I liked it, I just didn't continue. So I want to talk about one of you. This is my friend Dan Murphy. He'll be here. He's a periodontist out of Columbus, Ohio. He is a blueberry leader. Now Dan, I met here at Spear. Dan is an unusual guy in a very positive way. He is an extraordinary clinician. He is an extraordinary business person in how he runs his practice. He is an entrepreneur, owns part in a restaurant, and he's a budding sommelier. He passed the first part of the exam. He has nothing to do, Dr. Dan. Now Dan opened up a new practice, limited to periodontics, in Columbus, Ohio within the last year. Dan is not a new clinician. He was in practice toward the suburbs in Columbus. Now, when you open a new practice and you move, especially when you were associated with one and now it's yours, and you're a specialist, what do you worry about? Will my referrers follow? I was with Dan. He was here the week that 2 weeks after he opened, and he was nervous. You know what happened? Within just a few short weeks, his schedule was as full as it ever was in the other practice. And his production goal that he set for himself in month number 1, he blew the doors off that month number 1 and every single month thereafter. What the heck is he doing? I'll tell you what he's doing. He's doing everything with intention. First of all, he left his practice that he was associated with amicably. And the owner of the practice allowed him to take his Spear Study Club, or shall I say two, with him. Dan didn't do any marketing, zero, when he opened his practice. And within 1 month, he started 2 more Spear Study Clubs. He's on our panel. You'll hear from him yourself. Now, I told you Dan's a friend of mine, and I told you he's a restaurateur and a sommelier, so that's one of the things we have in common, which is food. So last time we were here, we were at this restaurant in Old Town. It's really good. And so between commentary on the food and life, I looked at him and I said, okay, I got to ask a very basic question. What the heck are you doing? And he goes, you know what? It's very simple. He goes, I want to be the guy that my referrers can't live without. He said, what was your number one fear when you were in practice as a restorative dentist when you would send a patient to a periodontist? I said, oh, that's easy, that you keep them, right? He looked at me and he goes, yeah, I don't do that. I said, what? He said, yeah, I don't do any maintenance in my office. He said some periodontists do, some periodontists don't. But my belief, he said, is that a great hygienist with adequate training in a restorative dentist's office can do just as good of a job as anyone that I hire. And I want to make it easy for them to refer to me, and I want to make it valuable for them to refer to me. And his story speaks for itself. Dan is a Blueberry leader. So what is study club leadership? Let's remind ourselves. A leader engages in the process of clinical or practice influence, which maximizes the coordinated efforts of the members acting together in the interest of their common/personal goals. One of the things we've changed is the creation of a goal-setting construct. And if the idea of goal-setting construct is a term that's foreign to you, come talk to me. Because what we need to do is to help the members identify where they want to go so that we can help them get there through you and through the other elements of the platform. What I've developed is a way through a simple conversation to figure out what their goals are, how you can help them treatment plan those type of goal-oriented cases, and then use the Spear platform to help them get there. That's where motivation comes from, because it's what? Self-interest. So I keep talking about blueberries. What am I talking about? I have to thank Ben Newcomb, who's one of our study club managers, one of the 2 individuals who took the management duty off of my plate. It was amazing. He gave me the concept of the blueberry. He said, you know, Martin, he said, blueberries, if you do some research, depending on the variety, take 1 to 3 years to bear fruit. And once they do, depending on the variety, they continue to bear fruit. Some varieties, multiple times a season. Sound like a study club? Takes time for the individuals to mature. It takes time for the group to mature so that you will begin to bear fruit. What's bearing fruit? Doing better dentistry. So I quoted John Maxwell earlier. He wrote a book called The 5 Levels of Leadership. And I want to share with you what the 5 levels are as it relates to study club leadership and study club membership. So level number 1, according to Maxwell, is position. Leadership is bestowed. That's exactly what happens in the birth of a Spear Study Club. We gave you that title. They follow you because at the end of the day, they have to. Because they joined the club that you, quote, started. So you've begun your club, you've planted the seed of your blueberry bush, and leadership is in title only at the beginning. Level number 2 is permission. The beginnings of the relationship. They follow you because they want to. This happens within study clubs within the first 3 or 4 months. The seeds begin to shoot the sprouts through the soil. The members think, okay, this is different. This is not what I'm used to. I can see how this is about us and me. Not bad. I'm in. Let's go. Then we get to level 3 according to Maxwell, which is production. The beginning of results. They follow you because of what you have done for the club. This is usually in the first 3 to 9 months, where your blueberry bush is beginning to flower. Not bear fruit, but flower. You're having better conversations. You all have made it here, or next door, to Spear for a seminar. And they think, this is pretty cool. They're observing your effort for the group. Level 4, people development, the reproductive stage. They follow you because of what you have done for them. Dan Murphy, the members of our panel, and many of you are in level 4. They follow you because of what you have done for them. But I want to be clear, ladies and gentlemen, if we haven't defined what that is that they want, how are we supposed to get there? This typically occurs in our clubs 6 to 14 months in, and the bush begins to bear fruit. What do I mean by that? You're sharing cases. There's better engagement. There's participation. Whether you're a restorative dentist leader or a specialist leader, you're starting to work as a team, you're talking with each other, you're collaborating, and the patients are getting even better care than they were when the club started. Level 5, the pinnacle, the blueberry leader, the respect stage. They follow you because of who you are and what you represent. This is why I thought of Dan Murphy and many of you in this room. He opened a practice far away from where he started. You build it and they will come. He built it and they follow. 14 months plus, your bush begins to bear fruit. You start sharing cases to a greater degree. There's even better engagement and participation. So, as I start to close, what can cause your blueberry bush to wither? Lack of food, lack of water, lack of sunlight. So what I propose to you, ladies and gentlemen, is allow Spear, through our content, to supply the food. Allow the water to be the best practices, to be Spear Online, to be sharing cases. And you, ladies and gentlemen, shed light on the blueberry bushes. Now, what I want to say to you is this. Please do not be discouraged by your bushes that are not bearing fruit. I have been on the phone over 500 times with you all. And I've counseled, and I've given advice, and I've listened more than anything else. And sometimes what happens is they're in shadow and they cannot see the light. So if you can continue to nourish them, feed them, water them, like the changing seasons, the sun moves. And if you have patience, most of them will see the light and come to the light of day. The last thing I want to say to you is this. I would like to ask your permission to take my hat off as a member of the Spear team. And I want to talk to you as Martin. Is that okay? For those of you who don't know me, I was in practice for almost 10 years and I became disabled. I do what I do because I have to, although I love what I do. I stopped practice due to chronic pain issues in my hand. And through a series of several positions, intention, and some luck, I landed here at Spear 5 years ago. What I can tell you is this. When I get up in the morning, I don't think about Spear as per se. I think about Dan Murphy. I think about Tom Durasek, Craig Rothenberg, Joan Greco, Donna Stenberg. all the people that have done so well, that have grown, that have prospered, when they shed light on their members. And it's an amazing thing to watch. And I want to thank you for the honor to be able to help you in any way that I can. So over the next 2 days, I want you to think of 3 things. I want you to think about how you can nourish your blueberry bushes that you have in your patch. I want you to think about how you can plant additional blueberry bushes. And I want you to think about how you can feed and water your blueberry bushes so that they begin to bear fruit for years to come.